Hello and welcome to the latest episode of TalkingRegMed. My guest today is Sven Kili. He's the Vice President for Gene Therapy Development at GlaxoSmithKline. In this episode, we're talking rare diseases, cell therapy, and what's in store for the rest of 2018. So Sven, thank you very much for joining me today. For our first question, could you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit more about GSK?
Thanks very much, Freya. Yes, my name is Sven Kili and I'm the Head of Cell and Gene Therapy Development.
What makes rare diseases such potential targets for regenerative medicines or cell therapies?
Yes, a great question and one I think that we've come back to many a time. I think the first thing is that most rare diseases that we are working on are monogenetic. And so because of that, the cause or the genetic cause is well understood. Very often the pathophysiology and the patient experience is also very well understood. The rare disease community is very underserved in general, and so most of these patients have no other treatment or their treatment options are very limited. And the vast majority of these patients tend to be children. So that medical need is absolutely paramount.
And obviously 2017 saw a number of fantastic new approvals. We had Novartis and Kite. What developments do you think we've seen that have led to this breaking point coming?
Wow, yes. It's been a phenomenal year. It really has been. We started off slowly and 2017 has accelerated, and I'm sure we'll see great things in 2018. I think there have been a number of very important innovations and changes that we've seen that have led up to this. First is a much better understanding of disease and understanding the molecular mechanisms of disease. Before, we really only understood it on a symptomatic level, and so getting down and understanding the molecular and the biomolecular aspects have been critical, and new technologies and new techniques have allowed that. Other things such as vectors and our ability to understand vectors, utilize them in a safe and effective way have been absolutely critical to be able to deliver these therapies safely to patients.
Fantastic. It certainly seems like it's going to be a bumper year. Thinking about specifically GSK and your sort of drug development pipeline, why are you so interested in bringing the next big cell therapy to market?
Well, I think we see cell therapy and gene therapy as really one of the next big pillars of treating medicine or treating patients. So we've got small molecules, and small molecules and the little white tablet, as we all know them, is absolutely important, and they will continue to have a very important role to play, as will large molecules, proteins, things like that are grown. But we're also starting to realize that the traditional ways of treating disease didn't work for many diseases. And also with these new cell and gene therapies, we can potentially reverse the cause of disease, which is something that modern medicine has never been able to do before.
So before we reach that stage, before all of us are getting cell or gene therapies for every ailment we have, what are some of the challenges that you think still need to be addressed?
So, as with any new technology, there are an enormous number of challenges. I think first and foremost is the disease understanding of more common diseases. There are a lot of other big things that need to be treated, and everyone talks about the heart disease and the disease of modern life. And these are really challenging because they have both genetic components but also environmental components. I think the other big areas that we need to be thinking about is manufacturing and our ability to scale up. At the moment, we are treating very small numbers of patients because there are very small numbers available, but also for some of the more common indications, we can't manufacture enough product at a cheap enough cost. So we have to find ways to bring the cost of manufacturing down. And that's going to be absolutely critical to make these therapies available for thousands and millions of patients.
So it feels like it's only been fairly recent that the bigger pharmaceutical companies have been involved in this area. How do you think this involvement could affect the development of new cell and gene therapies?
Yeah, so I think it's really exciting to see big pharma starting to get in, and we've had a few big pharmas previously, dip a toe in. Sanofi for a while had some cell therapies, but then decided to get out of them, and so GSK is really the first large pharma that's properly gotten behind the cell and gene therapy space. And what we've seen is the real shift in the way we're approaching the development for these therapies. We're able to leverage the horsepower of GSK from a manufacturing perspective to bring new ways of thinking of manufacturing, whilst not forgetting the importance of the small companies, the academics, the spin-outs, to really come up with the new cool technologies.
So for my final question, it's a very big question, but where do you see cell and gene therapy going in the future?
I would hope that it would continue to innovate, and I would hope that it would continue to grow in a safe and responsible way, that we would always remember that no matter how good and how cool the technology is, the reason we're doing this is for the patient.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Sven.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, that is all we have time for today's episode. In other RegMedNet news, we've now concluded our spotlight on organoids, their technology and their current applications. If you haven't already, do check out the spotlight. You can still register to watch the panel discussion on demand, as well as look up the results of our member survey. Please join me again soon for the next episode of Talking RegMed.